Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what these nerfs are going to do. I have not read this. I just clicked it and saw it popped up earlier this morning. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I was tired. We streamed. I stayed up to do a video that you guys are probably going to see around 1 o'clock. You're probably going to see this a little bit later in the day because I didn't really feel the need to, just make things crazy. So, alright. So the very first thing you see right here is the awakening effects, and next week's update the following effectiveness, resist, critical hit resist, and critical hit damage will look like they get buffed. So when characters get awakened, it seems like stuff just gets doubled from here, which is pretty cool. Well, actually, critical hit, it went up 1 and then 2%. So technically it kind of did, but whatever. Critical damage went up by 2%, and critical hit chance went up by 1 and 2%, and critical hit damage went up by 5 and 10. Alright, I gets it. Hero balancing up, Kluri, off the bat. Off the bat, Kluri. Certain heroes will receive changes in the next week patch. Falcon and Kluri. And Kluri will be nerfed, therefore available for recall. Once recalled, the players will receive the runes and skill for the skill tree for Falcon and Kluri clips and revert back to Kluri. However, once Kluri reaches 50, she may be specialty. Okay, let's see what happened. Flurry attack. Alright, so we know that's what it does. So what happened to this? The cooldown went up by 1. Alright, so that didn't change really at all. Other than the cooldown. Like I kind of really don't care about the cooldown because I would use that situational anyway. And you guys notice most of the time I have it off. So this doesn't really affect me right there. We'll see. The trust rune effect is changed. The chance to get an extra turn can be activated 1 per turn. Has a chance of max 10%. Increase combat readiness of the caster by 50% at the end of the turn. This isn't really nerf her. People were kind of spamming the hawk, but this really didn't nerf her. But whatever, be quiet. Specimen Sez, what happened here? Did they actually give him something? They give him a buff. I think he needs more of a buff than that. But I haven't finished reading them yet, so I guess they it seemed like he was a little bit lackluster, not like I have him anyway, but attacks with the Iron Mace, he gets a 50% chance to stun now instead of 35%. And now his Evil Claws increases combat readiness by 50% now. That's good. After awakening, he still does the same thing, but before increases the combat readiness by 50%. Light Storm effect will be changed. Attacks Light Storm. If the penetrating. Hold on. This looks like this is going to be some cheese. Alright, it's the same thing. It resets the cooldown if the enemy is defeated. Which means he can do it the next round. Which kind of works like the way that he was before. I mean the way that he was in his real form. His real 5-star form. Okay. I guess that, like I said, I don't have them, so it doesn't matter for me. Spectre Tenubria. Let's see here. Poison blast damage increased by 20%. Attacks with explosion of poison energy by 50%. 70% chance to inflict poison for 2 turns. Okay. Nightmare Illusion. The caster cannot be targeted if the ally heroes remain. So she pretty much goes stealth, which is kind of what the other character got a buff to now, which I just got him literally last night, and I was not happy, but I still ended up getting some here, so it didn't matter. Every time someone is defeated, the caster's attack and defense will increase by 7%. Max 10% can be stacked up to 5 times. Okay. Go down here. Skill enhancement effect will be changed to the following. Okay. This is all within her. Yeah, this is still all within her. And she got a complete change. Oh, this is an ML. So I didn't really think that she was that like off, but okay, that makes her relatively very good. All right, Endless Nightmare attacks with a Nightmare Crystal decrease the combat readiness of all the remaining enemies by 50%, and when the enemy dies, damage dealt increases proportional to the number of debuffs inflicted on the enemy. Okay. Endless Nightmare after attacks the enemy. Attacks with a Nightmare Crystal, stuns the enemy for 1 turn. Decreases combat readiness of all enemies by 50%. If the enemy is defeated, the damage increases proportional to the debuffs inflicted on enemy. So she kind of would work like a caster version of Litica, which is actually kind of good. Auxiliary lots. Yo, he was trash. I'm sorry. I know there's probably some fans of him, but I didn't understand what his purpose in the game was. Alright. So Black Magic. Attacks with a magic spear increases combat readiness to the caster by 15%. Okay. Mana injection. Let's see right here, the after. Injects an ally with mana and increases the attack for 2 turns. Combat readiness by 80%. Yeah, that kind of works out. Oh, there's gonna be so many Epic 7 videos today in one day. I normally don't do this, but I don't have any choice because it's just a lot of stuff. So mana injection. After injects an ally with mana and increases the attack for 2 turns. Combat readiness by 100% before increasing the caster's attack for 2 turns. It seems like it would be pretty good. But he's a 4-star. It's kind of like he's being ramped up really high. Oh god, I see Clarissa. Anyway. Attacks the enemy releasing strong mana and increases the silence turns to 2 turns. Okay. So looking at his original kit, he, like I said, he was, when I first originally saw him, I was like, this is not impressive at all. This is boring. I don't like this dude. Anyway, I'm glad I never got him, but if I get him now, it wouldn't be that bad. He's a 4-star anyway. I'll never have any 5-stars. So give me a 5-star. Give me a 4-star. Kitty Clarissa. Meow, I'm angry. Every time I read stuff like this, it reminds me of the announcer and how amped he was to talk about Clarissa. But he's never amped for anybody else. Like, he don't show any type of energy for any of the character but Clarissa. Like really, are you really you like cats that much? Anyway, after awakening, attacks all enemies with Morning Star Raging for 60%. Alright, the buff duration. Wait, isn't that a nerf? Decrease buff duration by 1 turn and make them unhealable for 2 turns. No, that's not a nerf, that's a buff. If the caster is granted loveliness, the effect will increase by 20%. I like how people was trying to say that she's good. I was like, this character's not good. Like, she might be cute, but she's not good. And she might be good now though. Alright, after awakening from Meow, I'm angry. Attacks all enemies with Morningstar Raging for 60%, 80%. Decrease the buff duration. Make them unhealable for 2 turns. If the caster is granted lowly, increase by 20%. What changed? Isn't it the same thing? It looks like the same thing. Oh, I had my mouse over it. It went from 1 to 2 turns. All right, whatever. I'm so cute, Meow. Wiggles tail cutely, decreasing the debuff duration on the allies by 2 turns and granting caster immunity and loveliness for 3 turns. Assassin Cid. Okay, you say so. When the enemy is defeated, increases the caster's combat readiness by 15%, increases attack by 1 turn. Can be activated after 1 turn. I didn't think Cid needed anything, but his speed is increased and his combat readiness is. Execution. Attacks the enemy with a powerful ground pound, silences them for 1 turn, and decreases their combat readiness by 30%. Damage dealt to the caster according to speed. Okay, so it changes over here and it goes up to 50% in the next one. T-Win, thank you God. And I see Cecilia next. T-Win needed something, man. He needed something. All right, what did y'all give him? Y'all gave him one thing, but let's see what they gave him. Attacks all enemies with a sword storm of 75%. It went up 75%, max 100%. Chance to decrease defense. All right, so they gave him a damage buff. The damage increases proportional to max out. He still needs more. He needs a way to defend himself. He has no way to defend himself, so he might he needs to be able to defend himself because there's people who can actually debuff and like Balana and everything else. He's like a weak ass Balana. He needs more. Stove, guys, watch. You'll notice like he needs more. He needs a way to defend himself as a knight. Like unless you just want him to be just like Charlotte and Shadow Rose. And like that, where they can't defend themselves either, and that's kind of trash. I'm just saying. If they're a knight, they need to have something. Like, give them something. Ruin this retribution. I think he has a lot of HP though, T1. So I guess that's kind of what they're going for. Anyway, Cecilia, ruin this retribution. Provoke chance will be increased. Wow. Wow. Okay. That's like increased to what though? It's gonna be like 75% or something like that, because that was the main thing that people would complain about with her. And it's kind of sad now that I have Charles. Like, I'm probably never gonna use her again now because Charles is like better in almost every single way. All right, we'll see what this does. Attacks all enemies with spare. Increases the damage on it, it was always good in PvP, but now it's gonna be even better. Yeah, they increased the damage on that and made her provoke. So that helps Cecilia. So congrats to everybody who has Cecilia and they don't have Charles. But if you have Charles, I don't see why you would even use Cecilia, even though she has defense break. But I would use her like in Golem or something like that with the other characters. But yeah, Basar. Attacks all enemies with sand magic dispensing. All buffs are making them able not to be buffed for 2 turns. I never did get him, but kind of don't want him anyway, but it will probably happen. Attacks all enemies with sand magic dispensing buffs, everything. His cooldowns went down by 1. Alright, so Zerato definitely needed a buff. Alright, so Ice Pick after. Attacks the enemy repeatedly, increases caster's combat readiness by 50%, deals increased damage if the enemy is debuffed. And Iber's ritual, and look at this! Look at this! Oh, I'm gonna have to summon and get dust because this is some cheese. I've never got Rihanna Lucilia ever again. So, and the same thing with Iber's Ritual Sword. I've never had Secret Cipher at all. In Celestine, I didn't even... Yo, this is lit. This is lit. This is super lit right here. I'm more excited for this than anything else on here. Got Elspeth, Aureus, or people like Aureus. Rosa too? What the? Wow. It's like they just, this is all of this is lit. I'm excited for all of this. All of this is useful. I use all except for Elspeth. I don't use Elspeth, but all of this I use. So I'm gonna have to, some stuff is getting dusted. Some stuff is getting dusted, I'm just saying. Packet price update. Package prices in certain countries will change based off the updated currency rate. We'll keep changing the prices that are affected. Oh, that's useful stuff. Violin error. Oh, I don't even have that artifact anyway, so. Alright, just to recap. I don't think this affected Kluri pretty much at all, to be honest with you. Well, it won't affect mine anyway, because I don't rely as heavily on this as other people do, and she attacks so much to begin with that I'm kind of understanding this. And the fact that they didn't nerf Angelica when she's just as much in PvP as Kluri is kind of baffling to me. Like, she's in the top meta the same way and used in a very broken way and hunts and content and PvE and everything else. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. If you were going to bother Kluri, then why would you? And then only Kluri out of all these characters, when there's other characters that definitely need a nerf. They definitely need a nerf, because it's like Lidica bypasses content. She just breaks all game content. What you worried about? I just sometimes companies do things where you're like, do you play your own game? That is exactly my comment for like do you play your own game? I just look at certain things and I'm like, y'all don't play your own game, or you don't have testing. And I said this in the video before, that we're all sitting here in this Discord, all the content creators. You need to let us test this stuff so you don't do stuff like this, because there's just a lot of stuff that does need to be nerfed in this game, and then you manage to nerf Kluri, and then it doesn't even matter what you nerfed. So I'm like, I don't know. That's my take on that. Be legendary. They're gonna see this and probably go scrambling to figure out what the hell I'm talking about, but that didn't matter. Epic 7, like I don't. If you were gonna be bothered with doing that, then like I don't. Peace, guys.